Honda Civic Type R or Toyota GR Corolla, which high-performance hatchback should you buy? That's what we're going to find out. Welcome to Car Help Corner, where we help you, the consumer, master the process of car buying and car ownership. For this video, I'm going to do something a little bit unique. Not only am I going to review the Civic Type R and GR Corolla, two of the highest performance hot hatchbacks that you can buy, but I'm also going to attempt to actually buy these cars from a dealership. Anyone very familiar with these cars would know how incredibly difficult they are to get. They have incredibly high demand with very limited availability, to the point where dealerships are asking enormous markups for them. It's an unfortunate reality of today's market that a lot of other YouTubers and reviewers are somewhat tone deaf to and don't really mention. So if you want to buy a Civic Type R or a GR Corolla, do you have any realistic prospect of actually getting one? Well, that's what I'm going to find out. But before we get into it, remember, if you enjoy and get value out of this video, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notifications. So let's start with a quick review of the Civic Type R, which I'm behind the wheel of right now. Compared to the previous generation, which was really over the top and had a somewhat comical appearance, this one is far more subtle and a little bit more under the radar, which some buyers might prefer. But just because Honda has toned down the appearance doesn't mean they've toned down any of the excitement or the performance. Under the hood, we still have the same 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder engine from the previous generation, only now it produces 315 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. Now, it doesn't really sound all that exciting. It has a rather muted exhaust, but it is incredibly impressive in terms of performance, able to rocket this car to 60 in just under 5 seconds. Now, normally a front-wheel drive car with this much power going to the front wheels would experience quite a bit of torque steer, where the steering wheel would be fighting with you because of all that power going to the front wheels, but Honda has managed to completely eliminate that. Thanks to a clever limited slip differential and Honda's dual-axis front suspension, they've managed to completely eliminate the torque steer, where you really don't feel like you're driving a front-wheel drive car. It's absolutely incredible how much confidence you have driving this car and how well it's able to put all that power down. It also feels incredibly sharp and agile, to the point where you feel like you can attack corners no matter how fast you're going. And of course, you also have one of the best shifting 6-speed manual transmissions of any performance car. Honda is extremely well known for their manual transmissions, and the one that you get in the Type R is no different. Put it all together and you have a really impressive driving experience, one that you can enjoy both on regular roads and even on the racetrack. Now, the Type R does give you various drive modes to choose from, including normal, sport, plus R, and an individual mode where you can customize all the settings. My favorite setting has been the individual mode, where I've had everything in either sport or plus R mode, but with the suspension in the comfort setting. That way you get all of the excitement without the punishing ride. The sport setting for the suspension is really too stiff, to the point where it really feels designed mostly for the racetrack. But with the comfort setting, the Type R really feels like a car that you can easily drive almost every day. Even though this is a high-performance car with track capability, it doesn't feel compromised to the point where you would get tired or worn out from driving it on a daily basis, which is a great thing. And part of that usability has to do with the interior, which is just as usable and practical as any other Civic. You have a surprising amount of space in both the front and rear seats, and a huge cargo area, especially with the rear seats folded flat. Now, of course, you do have some unique Type R touches, like the red carpeting and the red sport seats, which are surprisingly comfortable. And you also have some unique trim, a metal shift knob for the 6-speed shifter, and a Type R plaque, which looks pretty cool. The infotainment system and digital gauge cluster also have a few unique Type R touches, including a unique Honda Log R performance application, which is a nice touch. Put it all together and you really have quite an impressive, well-rounded package. Knowing that this is a Type R, I was really expecting it to feel a lot more compromised and punishing than it really is, but that's not the case at all. You get all the performance, all the excitement and capability that's in a package that's just as usable as almost any other Civic. This is a really tough benchmark to beat for the GR Corolla and any high-performance hatchback, really. So I think it's time to get behind the wheel of the GR Corolla and see how it compares. Alright, behind the wheel of the GR Corolla. Now, make no mistake, this is nothing like any other Corolla that you can buy. This is basically a Corolla version of the GR Yaris, a homologation special race car that's only sold in certain markets. And like the GR Yaris, it shares the exact same drivetrain. The engine is a 1.6-liter turbocharged 3-cylinder engine producing 300 horsepower and 273 pound-feet of torque, which is a bit more power than the GR Yaris has. So what we have here is a 3-cylinder engine that's producing around 100 horsepower per cylinder. That's quite a bit of boost, and the result is pretty amazing. It's able to accelerate to 60 in just under 5 seconds, more or less the same as the Type R. Although the acceleration is not quite as aggressive, you do have to wind it out quite a bit. It does have a louder, more rowdy exhaust and does make a lot more noises like the turbo whistling that you can hear on throttle, so it just has more personality to it. That being said, the shifter for the 6-speed manual is nowhere near as good as the one that you get in the Type R. It just lacks that rifle bolt precision action that makes the Honda shifter so much more satisfying to use. But I do like the fact that the GR Corolla does have a manual handbrake, as opposed to an electronic e-brake that you get in the Type R. And unlike the Type R that's front-wheel drive, the GR Corolla does have a rather sophisticated all-wheel drive system. All models except the base get limited slip differentials front and rear, but there's no center differential. Instead, we have a wet clutch pack that handles the power distribution with a multi-mode all-wheel drive system. So using this dial in the center console, you can decide how you want the power divided. You can go with a 60-40 front and rear split for daily use. Or if you have more fun, better roads, you can go with a 30-70 split, sending more power to the back wheels. And you also have a track mode where it splits the power more or less evenly for the best power distribution. Now, in all honesty, I really didn't notice much of a difference between the all-wheel drive settings driving on normal roads, but there is also a drive mode selector, which allows you to select between Eco, Normal, Sport, and Custom, which adjusts your steering and your throttle response. Regardless of the drive mode that you're in though, the suspension is fixed. Unlike the Type R, which has adaptive suspension, the GR Corolla has normal passive dampers. And that means the GR Corolla always feels like it's ready to attack corners. Because it has extremely responsive steering just like the Type R, but with a shorter wheelbase that's around 3.8 inches shorter, it feels even more nimble and agile. It feels incredibly well balanced and just darts from corner to corner like a hyperactive puppy dog. That incredible handling combined with the super alert, entertaining drivetrain really makes this one of the most exciting new cars that you can drive. But it also feels like it's always on. It can never really calm down and go into a more docile mode like you can do with the Type R. Unlike the Type R, it just doesn't have that ability to go from a hardcore race car 1 second to a docile everyday hatchback the next. This one is always on. And that lack of everyday usability is also shown with the interior. Although this is a very nice space with high quality, well put together materials, you have very comfortable sport seats and a great looking digital gauge cluster with a very good infotainment system. But there's no question, it's nowhere near as comfortable or spacious as what you get with the Type R. You don't have nearly as much space in the front and rear seats, and the cargo area is a lot smaller as well. You also don't have quite as many details that help differentiate this from an everyday Corolla. So at the end of the day, even though these are both incredibly fun and exciting cars to drive, the real difference is that one has more of a dual personality, whereas the other has more of a singular focus. And that's okay, especially if you're looking for more of a raw, old school type of feel. Now, as far as pricing goes, the Type R basically only comes one way, with a price tag around $45,000 US or 52,000 Canadian. Whereas you can get the GR Corolla in 3 different trims. Not counting the super rare Morizo edition, the base core and the circuit edition range in price from around $38,000 to $45,000 US or 47,000 to 56,000 Canadian. Now, of course, those are just MSRPs, and we know that the reality in the real world can be a whole lot different. These are not easy cars to get your hands on, but I wanted to experience that for myself and see what it would be like to buy one of these cars from a dealership. Okay, so let me explain what I did here. I decided to shop around in my area in Southern Ontario and see what it would be like to try to buy these cars from a real dealership, with the goal, of course, being to get one of these cars for MSRP, and whether that's even possible. Now, of course, many will know that because these cars have such extremely limited availability, any dealership that actually gets their hands on one is normally asking an enormous markup way over the MSRP. That's certainly the case that I saw when looking online, where I found dealerships selling Type Rs anywhere from $75,000 to $80,000, and even one ambitious dealer selling one for almost $90,000, which is absolutely absurd. This was also the case with the GR Corolla, where I did find a few more of them listed for sale. I found a few dealerships that had them for around $60,000, around 12 grand over the MSRP. One dealership, Bolton Toyota, had one listed for $64,000, but with a financing condition, which means that you weren't able to buy the car unless you were financing. Another dealership, Woodbridge Toyota, had one listed for $65,000 as well, although that was a financing price. And if you wanted to pay cash, well, the price tag went up to almost $70,000. And the craziest price I saw, well, that would be a Volkswagen dealer that got their hands on one and were asking a ridiculous $80,000. Now, contacting the dealerships was a different story. I wanted to see whether any dealership would actually give me a proper price quote and accept my factory order, even if it meant waiting an extremely long time. Now, after contacting 3 different Honda dealers and 3 different Toyota dealers in my area, I got pretty much the exact same experience at every single one, which was no price quote. They wouldn't share anything remotely over the phone or by email. I had to go into the office if I wanted to even discuss the pricing. And the prospects of ordering one, well, it really didn't sound very good. So after playing all these games and going through a lot of frustration with all these different dealerships, I really had enough. And I ended up going to the Honda and Toyota dealerships that deal with Car Help Canada, the organization that I work with. And fortunately, both dealerships, number 7 Honda and Downtown Toyota, gave me exactly what I asked for, which was a proper price quote for the price of the car at MSRP, with no unnecessary markups, no add-ons, no junk fees, just the base MSRP, mandatory fees, and sales tax, which is exactly what I was looking for. Now, getting an MSRP quote is one thing, but what is it like if you actually want to order these cars, and how long are you realistically going to wait? Well, the manager at number 7 Honda told me that they only get 1 Type R allocation per year, and the one that they had for 2023 had already sold. So if I want to put my order in now, I would have to get the single allocation that they're getting for 2024, which would mean at least a 1-year wait. Now, things are a little bit better for the GR Corolla. Downtown Toyota told me that they get around 3 to 4 cars per year, which means that if I were to order one now, I would realistically get my car in early 2024, a little bit quicker than the Type R. But either way, you can really see why so many dealerships are charging enormous markups for these cars. They realistically are not available to buy, and the supply is so incredibly limited that, well, the laws of supply and demand are really kicking in. It's a pretty unfortunate reality, but one that a lot of limited production cars like this are facing in the market. If you want to get your hands on one of these specialty cars, you really have to order one and have the patience to wait, at least if you want to have any hope at getting one for MSRP. Now, that's not going to be me. I'm not actually going to order one of these cars. I just wanted to see what the realistic prospect would be like if I was interested in ordering one. But knowing that I can get both for MSRP and with a very similar waiting period, if I had to choose between these 2 cars, I think the one that I would personally go with is the GR Corolla. It's just such an exciting car to drive that really gives you an experience that you really don't get in a lot of new cars these days. But the truth is that you really can't go wrong between them. Both are amazing cars to drive and really deliver a really special experience. So let me know what you think of the GR Corolla and the Civic Type R. Which of these 2 high-performance hot hatchbacks would you go with? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. You can also take a look at my other car videos by clicking these links over here. Make sure to follow me on TikTok and Instagram, and if you need any additional car buying advice, recommendations, or help with getting a great deal on your next new car purchase, make sure to visit Car Help Canada. Thanks so much for watching, and see you next time.